Now that I'm done with the air dryer, we're gonna start messing with the fuel heater. Now Peterbilt installed this setup right here. It's called a Hotline. Matt, give me the wire cutters real fast just so I can undo this. Thank you. Now I was messing with this on the road just to try to see what it does and how to make it work again. Now what this is, I'll cut this one too. This is a Peterbilt installed device called a Hotline. Now when I redid this engine, I replaced all the old fuel hoses except this one here, which is the main feed line from the tank. But at the time I couldn't figure out, okay, how do I disconnect it from here and replace the hose? And what are these wires? At first, for whatever reason, I was thinking it was like a fuel pressure thing, but I'm like, no, these are pretty heavy wires. Why would that be fuel pressure? So I never replaced it. And this hose doesn't have to be as long as it is. The fuel tank is right there. So why do we have all this hose that runs the length of the tank over the crossmember, behind the transmission, from one side of the truck to the other and back to the tank? Well, the answer is this is a fuel heater. It's called a Peterbilt Hotline. Arctic Fox makes a new one now too, which eventually I'm going to replace. But as far as I know, this one should still work because when I hook this wire direct to the battery, man, it pulls a draw. But it's not a short, it's just a heavy draw. In fact, there looks like a starter relay for like an old Ford or a plow pump bolted to the side of the block, and that's what it's hooked to. So it's hooked to a major relay, like a starter relay. Now how it works is it's not just this little section. There's a heater element that goes the length of this hose. It's in the line. So that way when the fuel comes from the tank into the filters, it's already warmed by the element that's in this line. So now what I'm wanting to try to do is make this work again. But I was looking up the Arctic Fox system, and it works the same way as this Peterbilt one did. Now Peterbilt, this is an obsolete thing, they don't make it. But again, Arctic Fox does. But it has to run through a circuit breaker at your alternator. Let me go show you that. Right here is your alternator. And when I rebuilt this engine, I had replaced this. Now this here is a 60 amp circuit breaker. And I was trying to figure out for the life of me, why in the world does the alternator feed a circuit breaker and then go to your main line to your battery? And what is this wire? What does it do? I never really understood it. I just hooked it back up to the way it was. But now I have the answer. This wire goes to that relay for your truck's hotline. That's what this wire does. I never knew that. So now what I want to do is replace that relay, or rather that solenoid on the other side, and now maybe, I don't think I need to redo this wire. So now I know why the circuit breaker is here, and it's a big 60 amp. And I didn't want to run it straight to the battery without a circuit breaker, being it makes a very large draw. Got the new solenoid or relay, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's more like a starter solenoid. It's so damn big. And I mounted it on the bracket. It used to be bolted to the side of the engine. So I'm taking it apart and get ready to wire it. And I'm going to be replacing the majority of the wiring, being it's so old, and the amount of amperage it pulls. I don't want to risk having any problems. It is on a circuit breaker, so if there is any problems, I'll know about it. So I'm going to go ahead and remount this. Try to do this without, it's hard to do and see at the same time. You guys at home want to see, but I have to see. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to set up these lights, because for whatever reason I set up the light and I blind myself more than I illuminate. Now this is the harness from the truck cab to power the solenoid, also the ground, and this just bolts to the block. convenient. Well, the places to bolt this thing, this is not the optimum spot. Alrighty. Wow, the thing's unraveling itself. Got yellow crimps.
We can grab those.
Yeah, you just heat on one and the other. If you set it on fire, just blow it out. Grandpa argues the best way is to solder.
Yeah.
And he's right. But you need a lot of soldering gun for that.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time. We don't exactly have a lot of that. Now my question I'm trying to find out is, at what temperature do you run this thing?
Oh.
Like 14 below zero, I don't know. It's kind of dicey whether you'll freeze up or not.
Yeah, is that still...
Because this truck doesn't have a bypass flow to it like the old one did. In other words, the old truck, what it didn't burn, it cycled through the heat of the engine block or through the head, and whatever it didn't use, the majority of the fuel it did not use. It pumped way more than it needed, and it cycled that back to the tanks.
Which was warm, correct?
That's why the tank stayed warm all the time. In fact, when you were driving, snow didn't stick to the tanks because the tanks were heated because of the circulation of fuel.
Okay.
These don't work that way. There's not that much recirculation.
Do they make heaters that can go into the tank itself?
Yes, they do make those as well.
Oh, okay. Are they good? That you know of?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if they'd be worth the investment.
Might be, but I don't work in that. I don't work in like 30, 40 degree below zero on a regular.
Got it.
But it's 10 degree. It's, you know, it was 10 below last night, 14 below tonight. So it was pretty
damn cold.
It's pretty damn cold the last few days, and it ain't gonna get any warmer all week either.
Oh no. It's supposed to stay the same. It's supposed to be like -10 throughout the entire week, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, for like the high temps of like -2.
Yeah. It's
Right. So does that mean I need fuel heaters? I don't know. I have the fuel treated, but I'd have no access anymore to fuel oil number 1.
Yeah.
The local place don't sell it. So now what do I do? So I treated extra the fuel that's in the tanks, but man, you freeze up an engine and your source of heat isn't working anymore. Man, let me tell you, that's a whole nother degree of cold and urgency. That's where you just want to abandon the truck and just get out.
That's why you had, when me and Sean went up to Maine that one time, you had us pack extra
Blankets,
coats, stuff like that for
just in case. I mean, you had an old car.
Yeah, it breaks down.
Yeah.
You're stuck in Maine temperature.
Remember when we went to go rent the snowmobiles that morning? It was 15 below.
Yeah.
That's actual temperature. So yeah, I mean, I ain't playing. Go on the other side of the.
Yeah, you've never messed with cold.
Well, try to take precautions. I like to stay alive. There's a point to where your truck breaks down, you can't fix it, abandon it, and get warm. Cold will kill you. Stop pulling so hard.
Sorry.
I loop it around to where it works with the tubing and goes up to where the alternator
Yeah,
is.
I see where it would go.
Do you have enough line?
I need more.
All right, then take more.
That should be good there.
All right, let me come over and see. Go ahead and reach in and turn the ignition on. See if this thing actually pulls in.
Ready?
Yep.
Sounded like it.
Yeah, it did. Turn it off. Turn it on.
Sorry, the tester I put away in the electronic.
I'm checking something.
Oh. It's on.
Turn it off. Turn it on. Okay, cut it off.
You want me to hit the switch?
I was making
quickly?
sure it wasn't tripping the breaker.
Do you want me to hit the switch?
What switch?
Turn off the switch for it.
No.
Okay.
Don't need to climb in there anymore. Alright guys, that's it for the fuel heater and the air dryer heater. Now I feel much more comfortable. Again, with properly treated fuel, a lot of people are telling me that I won't need any of this, but it's just way too cold to take the gamble. So now I have an operating, or at least a heater that pulls amperage. I won't know for sure until if I ever have a problem or lack thereof. But for the time being, that'll do. I will eventually change this over, but for now, let me get what was running back in the day running again. With that, I should be good to go with the air system and now the fuel system as well. Tomorrow's supposed to be 14 degrees below zero when I open the door and pull it out, so I guess I'll know soon enough. All right, guys, that's it. Let me clean up and get done with the day.
If you're on camera, you can hand me the Cabover. Show you cleaning up.
Oh, okay. You go that, one more. Put that on the toolbox.
Will do.
Thank you.
You place your cards right there when you're handing me the tools and stuff.
Yeah.